Today's lesson is going to be on rigid and non-rigid functions. Rigid mean that the graph keeps its shape and does not change the shape, but they do move left and right. Non-rigid means the graph actually changes its shape. So we're going to start with up and down shifts or vertical. These are the easiest ones. That will be these two right here. So if I want to, we're going to start with a graph that looks like this. H of x equals f of x. Another way to write this would be h of x equals y. And f of x and y mean the same thing. H of x is just saying we've taken our existing graph and made a new one, so we gave it a new name. Now, what you are doing to this is you are adding it to the y value or subtracting from the y value. So whenever we do something to y, it's going to move the graph up and down. So if you add something, addition goes in a positive direction or on the y-axis upward, so you're going to move your graph up c units. If you subtract it from y, so if you have y minus something and you subtract it, it goes down c units. Now, the other one we deal with is horizontal, and this is the x. And it is a special little puppy because it does the opposite of what you think it's going to do. So, if you subtract from x, you want to move it to the left, but what we are actually doing with x is you're going to subtract the shift. So you're going to move the other way. So if I'm subtracting something from x, just like this, it's going to move the graph right c units. So it goes the opposite way. If I add something to x, it's going to move it left. Now notice, when I'm doing it to x, it's in the parentheses. When I'm doing it to y, it's outside. So that's your really good visual clue right there. So let's look at a really quick example. Here is a generic graph I have. It's not anything you're used to, it's just a function, just a shape. So here is my equation, y equals f of x minus 3. They could have written f of x equals y minus 3. It comes out either way. It's math notation, so don't let it spook you. So this says each point of the new function is the corresponding point of the original function translated down by 3 units. What that is a really fancy way of saying is you are going to move this down 3 units because we are subtracting 3. So from right here, we're going to count down 3, and it's going to be right about here. On this one, we're going to move it down 3 units, and it'll be right here. Sorry about that. We're going to do that for each point, and with this, it's a little bit difficult to draw. And then we can connect the dots. And we've just moved that whole graph down 3 units. Now, if I wanted to, if it looked like this with its x plus 3, I'm going to shift it up 3 units. So let's change color here. So if I want to go up 3 units, I'm going to count up 3 and have a point. Count up 3. Count up 3. And then count up 3 for my endpoint. So my new graph looks something like this. Generally, the way you will see this written is y equals f of x plus k. And k is your vertical shift. So make a note of that. K is your vertical shift. Okay, let's move on to horizontal now. Horizontal means we are doing something to the x values. But remember I said x was special. So when we are subtracting 2, what we are really doing is x, let me get my pen going. That color didn't show up very well. We're doing y equals f of, we're going to subtract the shift. So what we're actually doing here is going, subtracting the shift. And you're going to have to think backwards with me, because these two together make a negative. That's what was in our formula. So that's why we're going to move 2 units to the right. It seems backwards. You can just think, if it's -2, you go to the right. If it's +2, you go to the left. It takes a little practice. So again, you just start at your point and you count over 2 units. We're going to do that with each point. Just count over 2. And then you connect your dots. And that's not real accurate, but you see what we're talking about. Now, if we wanted to do f of x plus 2, remember, we're subtracting the shift. That's more important when you're writing it. But to write this, you would have to say f of x minus a -2. And that's, these two signs together are going to give you that positive. So we're going 2 units to the left. So you'd start 2 units here, 2 units here, 2 units, 2 units. And there you go. There's your horizontal shifts. You're going to see these written as y equals f of x plus h. And h is easy to remember because h is horizontal. So that one makes sense. All right, for a quick overview, we have our chart that has all of our formulas on it. So again, if we're going vertical, we are adding or subtracting to y, and instead of c right here, we're going to start using k's. So I'll show you the notation in your notables, don't worry about it. Now, the horizontal shift, we are doing it to x, and we'll start using h's for those. So that's going to move it left and right and up and down, and that's all we're doing today.